to our research instructor, Mrs. Elsie Ramancho, our research advisor, Ms. Dulce Maria Rosario de Guzman, and to our research expert, Reverend Father Sulficio Bincoy. Good afternoon to each of you. We are beyond grateful to each of you for taking part of our research. We are looking forward for a great success on this academic requirement. We believe that this would be very successful since we are surrounded with great mentors. Today, we are going to present our research study entitled Values Education and its Application to Guidance and Counseling Program. Before we start, let me introduce the researchers. To start with Ms. Janfrancy Balanay, Sanvi Mark Buhian, April Indigit, Tristan J. Tubio, and yours truly, Judy Cristal de Castillon. Our research study is all about the application of values education to guidance and counseling program. Values education is a subject offered in secondary high school specifically for grade 7 to grade 10. And according to EDB, it is an essential element of a whole person education that aims at fostering learners' positive values and attitude through learning and teaching of various key learning areas, subjects, and provisions of relevant learning experiences. And in the DepEd Order number 8 series of 2015, it is to develop learners' cognitive competencies and skills must be complemented by the formation of their values and attitudes anchored with the DepEd's mission, vision, and core values. And these core values are makatao, makabansa, makakalikasan, and makadiyos. Values education is very important in the learning and teaching process. Guidance and counseling, on the other hand, is a program that assists learners in acquiring the knowledge and skills necessary for healthy development. Both values education and guidance and counseling program are concerned with the learner's development. With that, we, the researchers, think these two concepts are somehow related, so to fill in the gap, we want to know that if the subject has an implication to the guidance and counseling program. This study seeks to know the implication of values education and its implication to guidance and counseling program. We would like to know the learner's thought on the extent of learning. Statement of the problem. This study is to determine the implication of values education to guidance and counseling program, which sought to answer the following or determine the following. First is the demographic profile of teacher and students, the guidance and counseling programs participated by learners, the extent of implication and how values education is taught in terms of the 4 core values, then learners' extent of learning in the most essential learning competencies in values education when they are grouped according to grade level and gender. And also, we sought to know or determine the significant relationship between the extent of learning in the most essential competencies and the learner's age. We also sought to determine if there is a significant relationship between the extent of learning in the most essential competency and the learner's grade level. The significance of the study. This study on implication of values education and guidance and counseling program will be beneficial to the following high school learners, because this study will give them awareness on the significance of the subject and the program, especially that they will undertake the subject within their junior high school or for their 4 years of academic years. Second is the teacher. This would shed light and also clears the path for them to see the importance of guidance and counseling program and to see its connection to educating learners with values. So teachers holds one of the most important roles in education and teaching the learners. This may enlighten the subject, especially that this subject helps in shaping the learner's growth and development. School heads. This study will help the principal and school head to see the importance of values education subject. Also, the school administrator. This will help show the school administrator to reflect on the findings of this research, to implement programs and help facilitate the importance of the values education subject, as well as the importance of having a registered guidance counselor or guidance designate in the school. Also, this will benefit the parents to give them awareness, especially on the values education subject and on guidance counseling program. And lastly, this will benefit for the future researchers. This study will give them more ideas and awareness on the problem, which would help them in dealing problems in the near future. That would be the end of my part. Next to present is Miss Jen Frenzy Balanay.
Thank you, Ms. Castillon. Now, let's proceed with the scope and the limitation of the study. This research study focused on the perception of the random learners and teachers from Tambisan National High School on the implications of values education on guidance and counseling program. However, we researchers envisage and hope that we may be able to complete the task within the second semester, which is the school year 2021 to 2022. Now proceed with the theoretical framework, wherein it has the structure that can hold or support a theory of our research study. Here, we have a psychoanalytic theory that explains the link and effects of people's past experiences and that present experiences. This is a theory of Simon Freud in 2020, in which he believed that by attempting to reach the souls, we can now see these aspects and understand the roles that they play in their lives. He said that human behavior is the result of the interactions among three components of the mind, which is the id, ego, and superego. So psychoanalysis is based on acquiring an understanding of one's consciousness and reworking and reconstructing their effects on individuals. Now, the behavioral theory as well is the theory that describes how people behave. We believe that this can be of use to determine the implications of values education to guidance and counseling programs. So according to Skinner 1948, reinforcement techniques such as rewards and punishments modeling can be used to modify or change behavior. So there are three mechanics of this theory, and with the use of these three, we can achieve a desirable change, thus helping us determine how values education affects guidance and counseling programs. Now, in conceptual framework, this will focus on the implications of both values education and guidance and counseling on education. This study will use dependent variables and independent variables. So for this study, the dependent variable will have implications on both the values education and guidance counseling program of selected learners and teachers in Tambisan National High School of school year 2021 to 2022. The independent variable will be the demographic profile of selected 5 teachers in Tambisan National High School, which includes their age, gender, position, years in teaching, and educational background. Furthermore, it also shows the demographic profile of selected 220 learners in Tambisan National High School. This includes their age, gender, and grade level. That would be the end of my part. Now, let me introduce the next presenter, Mr. Sanvi Mark Buhian.
Thank you, Ms. Balanay. Let's move on to the research methodology, where we describe the precise steps or methods utilized to identify, choose out, process, and analyze data and information related to our research topic. First, there is the descriptive and qualitative research design. Next, there are the research respondents who will complete the surveys for 225 respondents using a printed survey questionnaire, with half of them using a Google form. There are 222 respondents who are students and 5 teachers who also took part in the survey. Next is the Tambisan National High School research environment, where the study was conducted. To gather information from the respondents, the researchers employed a printed questionnaire and Google form as their study instrument. This survey was developed in response to a study that looked at educational values and how the effective programs for guidance and counseling. Then moreover, it is a data collection method and statistical analysis. As we examined and became knowledgeable with the tables, we now proceed to the findings. The first table focuses on the age range for learner respondents 12 to 17, and it reveals that the age group of 16 has the highest frequency and percentage. The gender of the learner respondents is the emphasis of the second table, which reveals that the female respondents make up the majority of both frequency and percentage. The grade level profile of the learner respondents is then shown in the table 3, which grade 10 having the highest percentage and frequency. Table 4 displays the age of the teachers respondent, with the majority of respondents have the age of 40, and Table 5 focuses on the teacher's gender profile and shows that they are all female. Table 6 focuses on the possession profiles of the teachers, with the majority of them holding the possession of teacher 1. Table 7 also displays the year in which they taught during the frequency percentage were equal to 2. Table 8 then focuses on the educational backgrounds of the teachers, the majority of which are unrelated to values education. And with that, I will end my presentation. Please welcome Ms. Diget as our next presenter.
Thank you, Mr. Buhian. And now let us proceed to the Table 9. The table shows the designation related to values education, a profile of the teachers respondents in Tambisan National High School. As presented in the table, the designation not related to values education has the highest frequency of 3 or 60%, followed by the assistant guidance designate, and guidance designate has the same frequency of 1 or 20%. In Table 10, the table shows the most number of respondents have participated in the homeroom guidance with the highest frequency of 179 or 81.36%. In Table 11, the table shows the extent of implication by the learner respondents on how values education is taught, considering the core value which is makatao. As you can see, almost of the learner respondents answer all the time with regards to the implications about the core value which is makatao. In Table 12, the table shows the extent of implication by the learner respondents on how values education is taught, considering the core value which is makabansa. And almost of the learners respondents answers all the time with regards to the implications about the core value which is makabansa. In Table 13, the table shows the extent of implication by the learner respondents on how the values education is taught, considering the core value makakalikasan. This table demonstrates that the majority of the learners possess the core value makakalikasan all the time. In Table 14, the table presented above that shows the extent of implication by the learner respondents on how values education is taught, considering the core value makadios. The highest scale is 4.78. The results of the table shows the vast majority of the learners respondents uphold the core value makadios at all times. In Table 15, the table shows the extent of implication by the teachers respondents on how the values education is taught, considering the core value which is makatao. This indicates the majority of the teacher respondents in the study have been applied more often on the implications about the core value Makata. That's all for my part, and please welcome Mr. Tubio for our next presenter. Thank you.
In our table 16, it shows the extent of implication by the teacher respondents on how values education is taught, considering the core value makabansa. As presented in the table, it is clear that the majority of teachers respondents have applied the value makabansa more often. In table 17, extent of implication by the teacher respondents on how values education is taught, considering the core value makakalikasan. The data in the table above demonstrates the majority of teachers possess the core value makakalikasan more often. Let's move to table 18. Extent of implication by the teacher respondents on how values education is taught, considering the core value makajos. So, as presented in the table, it is clear and visible that the majority of the teacher respondents have applied the core value makajos more often. Let's move here in table 19. So, we can see in the table 19 the extent of learning in the most essential learning competencies in values education when they are grouped according to grade level. So, in this table, it means that the learner respondents in all grade levels have learned and practiced the MALCs in an effective manner. So, in table 20, it shows here the extent of learning in the most essential learning competencies in the values education. So, when they are grouped according to gender. So, the results in the table shows the both female 4.63 and male 4.78. So, the extent of learning in all the MALCs is the effectively learned and practiced. So, this means that the learner respondents of all genders have learned and practiced the MALC in an effective manner. And right here is the table 21 rather. Table 21 shows the relationship between the extent of learning in the most essential competencies and the learner's age. As presented, the extent of learning and age has a positive slight correlation with 0.328745%. This means that these two as a relationship that are connected to each other, which implies that the higher the age the learners have, the higher the possibility they have learned, more sense it has a developing factors that the learners must obtain. So, here is the last table, which is the table 22. Table 22 displays the relationship between the extent of learning in the most essential competencies and the learner's grade level. So, as presented, the extent of learning and grade level has a positive slight correlation with 0.328511%. Means that these two has a relationship that are connected to each other. So, this implies that the higher the grade level the learners have, the higher the possibility they have learned, considering that it has a developing factors that the learners must have and acquire. Recommendation. So, on the basis of the offered findings and conclusions, we the researchers have developed the following recommendations. So, first, factors affecting students' choice of education as a major should be conducted. And the second one is the different stakeholders in education should see the importance of matching jobs to ensure learning. Because the positive relation result of the study shows that there is a higher possibility and therefore indicates that the values education has a high level extent to the program. Summary and conclusion. So, we the researchers conclude the learners respondents are mostly in grade 10 with the total of 65. The learners have participated several programs like homeroom guidance with a total of 179, info drive with a total of 143, career guidance with a total of 111, assessment with a total of 102, counseling with a total of 71, and placement with a total of 18.325745 that show positive slight correlation. This means that the higher the age of the learners, the higher the possibility they learn. Based on the findings of the study, values education and its implication for guidance and counseling programs in Tambisan National High School is a research that is imperative to give importance. On the other hand, the extent of implication by the teacher respondents on how values education is taught considering the core values makatao, makabansa, makakalikasan, and makadiyos. Are they responded more often in all statements being asked in the survey? That's all.
And that's the end of our presentation. Thank you and God bless.